So, last of the compassion talks for the month. Last week's was a really good conversation. Even though we lost 15 minutes, it still worked out pretty well. There are a lot of different practices or exercises for practicing compassion. For compassion towards others and compassion for yourself. So we've talked about the metta, loving kindness, where you're practicing thoughts of compassion towards, you're sort of working up to the more challenging things. Like, personally, I find it more challenging to be compassionate to myself than compassionate to people that I don't like. We're all our harshest critic. So depending on where you find, what you find is most challenging, you start with somebody that you do have, loving feelings for already, and you practice, thinking the words or saying the words, may they be free from suffering, may they be healthy, and things like that, and then you work up. So that's one kind of meditation practice or compassion practice. There's another one that's called Tonglen. And this is a Buddhist meditation compassion exercise that I would argue is probably a little bit more advanced, especially if you're really sensitive to your own energy, the energy coming from others, visualizations, things like that. So has anybody heard of what I'm talking about, Tonglen? Okay. In this practice, so in this practice, you are visualizing somebody who is suffering in some way. This can be, and maybe they have said that they're suffering, maybe it's obvious, maybe they're injured, they have a disease, or perhaps you're sort of impressing upon them, you think that they're suffering because they're a very challenging person. They have a rough personality. Maybe you assume that there's something going on in their life that is making them project this, sort of negativity. So in this practice, you are thinking of this person, and in Tonglen, it's giving and receiving, or giving and taking, truly is what it is. So you are visualizing taking their suffering, whatever it is. You can visualize it as energy coming towards you, or, and you can see, just in my description here, you can see how this would be something you might want to consider as advanced. You might even envision the disease coming towards you, you taking it in, the injury, the negativity, whatever it is, and you've got a couple options with how you can handle this. If you feel that you're energetically strong enough to take this inside of you and disperse it that way, then you're literally bringing it into yourself and sort of blasting away the negativity. You're visualizing getting rid of whatever this thing is. One other way that you can visualize this is if you're not yet comfortable with bringing something in. This goes along with like the idea of how you perform Reiki. You're bringing in, you're sort of sucking up somebody's negative energy, you're feeling that energy, you're bringing it into yourself, and then you're getting rid of it. You're healing it out. Likewise, what you can do is visualize perhaps that you've got a bubble or a layer over you, a protective shield over you, and visualize when you're bringing this person's suffering towards you, it's stopping sort of at this like force field and sort of just like blasting away that way. But you're working on sort of pulling it out of this person. So that's the taking. And then the giving is that you are projecting positive energy, healing energy. Perhaps you visualize it as a white light. Whatever you visualize healing looking like, you're projecting it to that person, into their body, into their energy body. And so as you're taking away the suffering, you're pushing in healing, and that is the practice of Tonglen, the giving and the taking. This is something that personally I've had really interesting experiences with this. The two, I perhaps have three if I can remember the third one, but the two that I can remember very distinctly, there was one evening in class. So there are times when, and I don't know that I should share this secret with you, but I'm going to anyway. So there are times in class during Shavasana when if I know that a student has something going on, then while you guys are practicing Shavasana, I'm practicing Kamdan, where I'm focusing on the student and I'm visualizing taking that suffering, whatever it is, and I'm taking whatever energy that I've got, healing energy, because probably I've just gained a lot of energy, positive energy from teaching a class and I'm very full. I may be physically a little bit tired, but energetically I feel like I've got some extra, so that I'm giving it to this person. So I do remember one student during class, this student was having relationship issues. And so the student was positioned right close to me, so it was very easy for me to, it was a quick transfer of energy from here to here, maybe 5 or 7 feet. But at the end of class, the student made a point to say something about how after Shavasana they felt a little bit better. They felt something happening, and I didn't even tell them that this was going on. So it can be powerful enough that another person can know that something's happening. But just like with prayer or intentional meditation like that, there are different thoughts to the healing aspect of it. Do you tell the person? You don't have to. Sometimes it helps to know that you are being prayed for or thought about or meditated upon. And so sort of the energy, knowing that somebody is, I just remembered my third one. So knowing that somebody is thinking of you, praying for you, and so forth, that can be healing in and of itself. Placebo effect, actual transfer of energy, your belief system, their belief system, that to me is the answer. Whether or not a piece of equipment can prove it, I don't care. So the second example that I have is one of my really close friends. Her mother has breast cancer. And my friend at the time didn't tell me which breast they found a lump in. And so I just said, can you send me a picture of your mom? And, she'll be part of my meditation for X amount of time. And so as I was meditating on her mom, because I knew that her mom was going in for, not the full lumpectomy, for a little biopsy and so forth. And so I was focusing on her mom, looking at her picture, visualizing, doing a sort of transfer thing. And I visualized the feeling that it was on the left side. And so when I talked to my friend, and I was like, I made a comment, I was like, I felt something on the left side. She's like, it is on the left side. That's where her breast cancer is on the left side. And her mom, so she's of Indian background. So her mom also, knowing that I said, tell your mom that I'll be meditating for her. She will be part of my meditation. That meant something to her mom, and so that really helped her, going into her doctor's office and stuff like that. The third example that I've got is, so a friend of mine from grade school and high school, this was a few years ago. Actually, this was before I had opened up the studio, but after I had quit my job, and I was still sort of like, well, I quit my job to become a yoga teacher, now what do I do? And trying to find my purpose in life, trying to find my way in, when you go through teacher training, they talk about, your best demographic, who are you best suited to work with and things like that. So I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And so my friend actually, part of her training, she was going through this training with, and I can't remember, this Chinese master of this sort of, I don't know, his own sort of healing work that he's created. But anyway, she was following him, and one of the one of her exercises that she was to do was to get like X number of people, and for 15 minutes at the exact same time every single day for 30 days, she was going to pray or meditate or focus specifically on this person and what this person was looking for. And so she asked me, she goes, would you be interested in having me pray for you for 15 minutes? It was at like 7:15 every morning for 30 days. And she said, you know, you can sit and focus on this at the same time if you want or not, doesn't matter. You just tell me, what are you interested in? And I told her, you know, what I was, you know, where I was trying to go and what my heart was telling me and things like that. And so she focused on that. And it was the most amazing thing, like waking up in the morning and knowing that, like, for 15 minutes of the day, somebody somewhere, and I honestly don't know where she was at the time, somebody somewhere was thinking of me for 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, that was like so powerful. And by her thinking of me and the thought that I wanted her to sort of focus on and pray for me on, that in turn made me think about that thing and focus on that for that 15 minutes. And truly, like, that 30 days was really transformative for me, and it helped me gain a little bit more perspective. And it was interesting because she gave me, like, because she focused on me for 15 minutes for 30 days, which is probably more than I can say for what I do for myself every day for 30 days. She's like, do you mind if I send you like the thoughts and like the visualizations of the things that I experienced? And so she sent me some of the things that she experienced in that 30 days, which was really impressive. And it was interesting because she actually gave me some insights. She said, you know, this would be your quest in this sort of yoga path or whatever, you know, specifically, you would be good to work with dying, people who are dying or the area of death, which was interesting because at that time I was actually looking into the yoga of death, and I don't think I had told her that. And then, interestingly, last year on my birthday, I went to Yellow Springs and had my star chart done and my past lives and all this stuff. And as this woman is sitting here for 3 hours telling me about myself, and she said, you are particularly suited to work with people who are dying and all of that. And so she basically reinforced what I was told essentially 3 years prior by this person who had been focusing on me for 15 minutes. So the power of meditation, the power of focusing on one person and directing your compassion and your energy into that person can be extremely powerful. The practice of Tonglen, I find to be extremely moving. And I've had some very challenging experiences. And we did, I'm trying to think when this was, there was a learner series when we practiced it in class, and a few people, there was crying involved because it's a very powerful thing. Thinking of a person that you know is suffering, somebody that you know that you care about, and we don't often think about, there's a difference between feeling empathy or sympathy for somebody, but then literally saying, I am going to take your suffering inside my heart and try to dissolve it. And then I am going to take part of my energy and jam it into your heart. And then I'm going to visualize it going through your entire body. Like, that kind of transfer is amazing. And it doesn't have to be like, face to face. I can't even imagine that. I gotta be honest, I've never practiced Tonglen face to face with somebody. This has always been distant experience where, a couple times the person knew that I was doing it, and many times the people don't know that I'm doing it. Any questions or thoughts on that? Yeah.
I did something similar. I didn't know the term Tonglen, but I hadn't studied it. And I thought that I was stronger suffering and that I can handle it and release any positive energy that I have to that person. I ended up, it was 2 years ago, with MRSA.
Wow.
Like, it was just returning back to school. It's a part-time job. I couldn't tell, of course, school that I had MRSA. It's sort of like having cooties. It's not something you go around telling people. I should have probably been hospitalized with it. It was so. And so now I'm scared to ever do that. And so I wonder, like, what are the techniques that, other than, in meditation, putting that protection, what do people do? Because I think my belief is energy can even create illness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Disease. So.
Yeah.
I guess to me, that's kind of the ultimate act of compassion, is to take someone else's suffering if you can.
Yeah. One other type of technique that I've read about with this would be to simply visualize bringing it to here. So you're visualizing. I'm visualizing taking whatever your thing is and making it stop like a foot away from my body. So it's not even an inch, because so one of the things that I like to play with is maybe you can call it your aura, maybe you can call it like an energy field around you, whatever you want to call it, is like I can feel my finger coming towards my forehead. About like right here, I can feel the energy from my own finger. And so this is very close in proximity to my personal energy field. So sort of the same idea of like when you meet somebody and you're just trying to figure out who they are, what they are, whatever, you kind of keep people, you've got personal space. So for protective reasons, not only like, are they far enough away that I can actually like push them away if I needed to, or that I would have time to react, but also like there's a sort of like space around me that I don't like people that I don't know, I don't like people coming too close. And so, I would say, as far as like visualizations, if you're good at visualization, which sounds like you are, then maybe making like a wall or a pillow, or like if you were to take something harmful from somebody, what would you want to put it in? Maybe like a cot, a catcher's mitt. Something else, like a vessel, maybe a vase or something like that. So you're visualizing it, putting it here.
Putting a lid on it.
Yeah, and putting a lid on it, and then maybe you can visualize throwing it in a fire, or how do you destroy things that you want to get rid of, something like that. So you can visualize it that way. Instead of bringing it into yourself, you're putting it in a safe place, getting rid of it. Or, you can visualize all sorts of things. So, if, for me, like, my empathy, I've said this before, like, my empathy is crippling. The idea to me of actually destroying somebody's suffering, like, it actually just made me feel really sad for the energy that I was taking. So, like, it's not the energy's fault. Like, nothing is inherently good or bad, And so my thought would be like, how could you not only like heal this energy, but also heal the person? Like, if you, just as we're talking, like, cap it, put it off to the side. Maybe you can work on this thing later, help the person, you visualize taking this out, give them some healing. And then maybe if you've got time, you can take this thing and like think about like, where did the suffering come from? And how can you help this energy to, we don't want to destroy it, we want to make it better. Like, turn it sparkly. Maybe fill it with energetic stuff. Yeah, you can put flowers in it or something. So ideas like that. You don't have to take something into.
Because again, that was self-harming.
Yeah. Yes.
I was not being compassionate
on the spot or whatever, but number one, ego, thinking that you could.
Exactly.
And then number two, like,
superpower.
yeah, and not thinking about protecting yourself first. Again, you know, like we learned, you know, when you're on an airplane, you take care of yourself first, and then the person that you're with, you've got to protect yourself first, especially in these kind of things, energy transfer, healing. So when you learn about Reiki, when you learn about, so when I learned Thai yoga massage, I can speak to that more than Reiki, but in Thai yoga massage, number one, I have to think of myself when I'm practicing massage. Am I breathing? Am I comfortable? Could I meditate like this? Because my energy transfer with the person that I'm working on is extremely important. And if I'm overworking myself, then I could be pressing bad energy into this person. And also it makes me less sensitive to their reaction to my touch and to the massage itself. So, yeah. So there are all sorts of ways of practicing that kind of a thing. But it is an interesting practice, and I do encourage you to try it out, and maybe try it again, and just see what the experience is. Some people don't visualize well, and so they need maybe a picture of a person or something like that. So looking at a picture of a person, and maybe with a picture, like for example with my friend's mom, she sent me a picture of her mom sitting on her couch. And so I was able to visualize looking at her mom on the couch, and then the picture of her mom, I was able to sort of like feel and visualize better like this transfer of this energy going back and forth.
So when you were doing that transfer, were you looking at the picture?
I was, and then after I felt like I burned her face into my brain, then I closed my eyes and it felt a little bit deeper for me.
And you did that primarily because you never met her and had an image of like who she was or anything like that or something, or why did you feel like you needed that?
You know, I had seen her. Well, part of the problem is because my friend, she's Indian, and she and her family look very much like the Sicilian side of my family, and so every time I think of my friend, she looks like my grandmother, and her mom therefore looks like my grandmother. And I didn't want to keep picturing my grandmother, so like I need to picture her mom, not my grandma, because that wouldn't work. Yeah, so it was sort of like a reboot, like, yeah, sort of cleansing my eyes for that.
Well, I'm glad that you spoke to the idea of when you're receiving that negative or whatever, drawing it out of the other person, that you visualize stopping somewhere, you know, because the first time you explained it, I was like, had almost a, like, you know, just a physical reaction, just sitting here thinking, ugh, you know, like, yeah. I was like, I don't want to take that on. Yeah. Because I think the first time you explained it, it was like, bringing it in and like, you know, dissipating it out through yourself or whatever. And I was just like, you know, it was weird. I just had like this, you know, I don't know, you know, and maybe it would be different for different kinds of suffering, of course, you know, something really, I don't know, really horrible was that, you know, I was thinking about my dad and the cancers he had, and I don't know that I could do that, you know, yeah. It would be very difficult, even though I love him very much and want to ease the suffering in any way I could. Just the idea of like, you know, drawing whatever that is out and trying to dissipate it. It's just interesting to me how like much of a physical reaction I just had just listening to you talk about it.
I mean, if your belief system is that could potentially harm you, then that's what you have to go with. Because, you know, again, like placebo effect or not, doesn't matter. I mean, we do know, research shows that negative thoughts impact you negatively. Being around negative thoughts, it affects your immune system. You know, negative words, negative thoughts, negative actions. So, you know, I mean, again, I mean, if your belief system is that you're bringing something negative towards you and it could potentially harm you, then protect yourself and go with that. So that's Toddler. Pretty heavy practice. So I'd be interested to know if you try it, you know, what your experiences are. You know, I've had plenty of situations where, you know, it was just sort of benign. You know, it's just like kind of similar to like the practice of Nican. I'm going to say that it's probably Nican, N-A-I-K-A-N. I feel like it's Nican. But anyway, so the one thing of, you know, did I cause anybody suffering today? I feel like, you know, it can be something as easy or as small as like, okay, thinking about the whatever suffering I might have caused to a person today, like I cut somebody off in traffic, or, you know, whatever. Maybe I forgot to say thank you and I should have. Just sitting there and thinking about visualizing that person and visualizing myself sending them the positive energy, sending them the thank you that I didn't give them, or, you know, thinking about the driver in traffic and hoping that I didn't cause them frustration or road rage or whatever, and sending them positive thoughts and positive energy that way. So, you know, does it have to be deep and profound? No, but it can be practiced in many different ways. And, you know, part of what we've been talking about of all of this is the act of practicing compassion for somebody else then is an act of compassion for yourself. It is a healing thing for yourself. You become a healthier person by practicing compassion for others. And so truly it's like giving a gift. You get the joy of giving somebody something that you worked for, that you enjoy yourself. And so they may never know that you did this, and it doesn't matter. Then self-compassion. I can't see this without my glasses. Little itty bitty letters. I probably could have done a better job of printing up some of these pages. So just so that to let you know what I've been looking at here. So there are things that I've had for a couple of years now as far as mindfulness. But the Center of Mindfulness Studies, they actually have this class that's several weeks, and I found their PDF, and I've been reading through some of their exercises that are really, really interesting. All right, so this is one that I like. So I've been reading this book called The Body Keeps the Score. One of my students recommended it because she's going through clinical psych. Have you read it? Okay. Yeah. And so it's about trauma. And a clinical psychologist that I talked to a couple weeks ago who came to the Thai yoga massage class, she talked to us about the book. The Body Keeps the Score. So the idea is that trauma that you experience manifests in your body in a number of ways that you may not even realize at the time. So let's say you've got childhood trauma, sexual, physical, or you've got, or you experience trauma as an adult, whether it would be a natural disaster or going to war, something like that. I mean, the book is so well written. I'm just like floored. I just enjoy every single word of this book. The way that he writes this book. But the idea that, for example, you know, you may be overweight because of trauma that you experienced as a child. You may feel, you may have have migraines, you may feel aches and pains and things like that. Your mental illness, your physical problem right now could be a symptom of trauma that you have experienced. And so, for decades, for centuries, we have ignored or not fully embraced the psychology of what happens because of trauma. PTSD is such a broad diagnosis, and there are so many different types of trauma that saying that somebody has PTSD really doesn't get to the root of what it is. I mean, there's so many types of trauma that are called PTSD, but they respond differently. Some types of trauma don't respond to medications. So anyway, the book is amazing. One of the things that, so I'm studying trauma a little bit more right now, somewhat because of the teacher training I'm going through, but some of it's just that over the past couple of years, the idea of working with people who are dying, working with people who have certain, things going on in their life. I just feel that so many people have some form of trauma that they've experienced. And something that I think about frequently, especially when, like, natural disasters. You see natural disasters on the news. I've never experienced a natural disaster. Nothing at all. Compared to, like, what these poor people have experienced with, like, Katrina and Harvey and all of these hurricanes and the fires and things like that. But even, thinking about how would I react? What do you do? How can you possibly help people? And one of the first things that you can do is just simply ask, what do you need? I saw a great video that somebody posted on Facebook about this guy who had gone around, I think it was in New York, and he walked up to different homeless people, and he was thinking about, how can I help the homeless population with, how can I give them things? And he said there's got to be a way to use Amazon to do this. And so he went up to homeless people and he said, what do you need, man? And the guy's like, socks. I really need socks. The guy's like, I really need long johns. I really use a backpack. And so he got the guy's name and he went to Amazon and he ordered socks, backpacks, long johns, whatever, put the guy's name in here. And in the description he said, he's the dude sitting in front of the bookstore. His name's Frank and he's got, like a red cup and a black hat on. And so then he's got then the delivery guy comes up and it's this, this Amazon Prime deliver it today thing. And this guy comes up with this bag and he's like, are you Frank? And the guy's like, yeah, man. He's like, well, this is for you. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like, dude, this bag is just freaking socks. And it's like, just going up to this homeless person. And like, as a female, I'm very hesitant because I don't know and I'm very protective of myself. But I applaud this man for going up and like treating these people like humans. Just being like, because you see these people and you're like, what can I possibly do for them? Why don't they go to the shelters? But you find out like the shelters are horrible.
You keep in place. You have to qualify for a spot in the shelter.
Yes, all of these things, and plenty of people have said that like there's violence, the drugs and all of the things that are in the homeless shelters. It's just not a good place. And so, and I would much rather give somebody something that they could actually use than money. And so, so the idea of just simply asking, like, what do you need? There's something.
So if they said like, I need $100, he would like.
He never showed that. So
okay,
it's
I wonder like, I can't get any money, but I can get you stuff.
Right.
What would you need? I wonder if that's okay.
Yeah. And so then Amazon just sends them this stuff in this little brown paper bag.
Oh, I never
just like, and like one of the guys that was delivering stuff, he had this like cart because he was delivering a bunch of stuff like in this area, and he's driving around and pushing this cart. And he's like, "Hey, are you Bill and Jane?" And here, and like gave them bags of things, you know. And all told, this guy probably spent like, you know, maybe $100 on like 5 or 6 different people or whatever. But like, number one, you're acknowledging their existence. You're saying their name. These people aren't even talked to. You know, they just sit there, maybe they even jingle their cup, maybe they don't, they just have their sign with their Sharpie and their cardboard. And that's it. You know, and we know that people go crazy, and I know that's not the proper clinical term, but people go crazy when they don't have human contact and human interaction. It is so important to just be acknowledged. And this is one of my biggest frustrations with like walking down the street. And like, why are we so afraid to make like 5-second eye contact? Not even 5 seconds. Like the time that it takes to pass somebody on the street, 2, 3, maybe 5. 5 is really, I don't know. You're really walking slowly. But like just looking at somebody in the eye and just saying, "Hello, good morning." Like that is not hard. And you don't have to share anything about yourself, you know, and you're just making human contact. So I think that, you know, in talking about what does it take to help other people, simple question, what do you need? Turn it back on yourself. Self-compassion. What do I need? Brownies. Yes, brownies are always the answer. Yes, and so, you know, just simply asking, you know, what do you need? So here's one of the exercises. This is the what do I need exercise from the Center of Mindfulness Studies. And as they indicate here, it's adapted from Dr. Tara Brach. Bring to mind some difficulty you're experiencing in your life currently. Sit for a few moments and play the situation out in your mind. Focus your awareness on any thoughts, feelings, sensations, or emotions that arise, and ask yourself, what am I experiencing right now? Allow the thoughts, feelings, emotions, or sensations to be there. Notice any adverse reactions. Investigate your experience with a gentle curiosity. Ask yourself, what most wants my attention? How am I experiencing this in my body? What am I believing? What does this feeling want from me? And expand your experience to expand your awareness to the entire body. And so that's the whole exercise. It's simply it. It's being with the thing. Not judging it, not changing it, just being with it and trying to determine what is it, what does it feel like, how does it feel like, what does it want from me? But I love her questions. What most wants my attention? So a lot of times there are things that are sort of like right here. Like even though there's stuff going on in life, there are probably like 1 or 2 things that are always like right here for you. How am I experiencing this in my body? What am I believing? I find that a fascinating question. What am I believing? What is it about this thing, this experience, that I believe? And the sort of longer version of that question is, what do I believe to be true? It doesn't mean that it is. Believing and the facts are 2 different things. And what does this feeling want from me? You know, so if I have fear, why do I have fear? What use is fear to me in this thing? How does fear feel in my body for this thing? Is it healthy fear, like somebody's coming at me? Or is this sort of like, you know, there's a big event happening and I have a little bit of, you know, anxiety about something? You know, because fear has some good qualities to it, positive qualities to it, as far as like it can save you, it can help you, it makes you think of the things that you need to do. But, you know, your life is safe, you know, all of that. So I think that's interesting. I think those questions are really helpful, just sitting with these experiences because of these feelings, these sensations. I really like that exercise. It's very simple. But as we know, simple does not mean easy.
Tara Brock has a really good blog.
Oh, excellent. I will look that up. What does she primarily write about?
Action.
Okay. Nice. And is it just like her Tara Brock? Okay. So I think for many people it's hard to, this is actually one of the things that he talks about in The Body Keeps the Score, but getting in touch with the mind-body connection is one of the most important things. Like, this is my body right now, this is me right now, feeling these feelings right now. But naming something can be very important, very helpful. We're afraid of the unknown. Did you find her blog?
This is just Tara Brock.
No, well, that's easy enough.
So she writes on all types of topics,
Okay.
evolving and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
relaxing my day, lots of meditations.
Great. Excellent. All right. Well, I will look for that, and I'll put that link on the thing for this when I post it. I think one of the most important, there are a lot of very, very important aspects of just this simple exercise that she talks about, and I will put this link, I will write this out on the Patreon page for this as well. But investigate your experience with a gentle curiosity. Gentle curiosity, I think, is extremely important to really understand what that is implying. Being gentle with yourself, non-judgmental, but also not telling yourself not to feel this thing. Telling yourself not to be afraid, not to be anxious, not to be worried, not to be whatever that feeling is, that's not helpful. What's that?
It's not kind.
Correct. It's not kind, right? Because you are feeling it. It's
It's not
okay.
acknowledging it.
Yeah, right. Denial is never helpful. We're masters of denial. But then also the curiosity. If you've ever had like a bad day or something, some weird thing going on around a child, you'll know they have no holds barred. What's going on? Why? Why are you crying? Why? What's that? And so they ask all these questions because they have this curiosity. They don't understand it. They don't have these social boxes that we put things in. They don't know that we think it's not polite to ask people about why they're crying. Well, why isn't it polite to ask those questions? And so then we learn to push it away and put it off to the side, and we tell ourselves to push the feelings away. For example, like my experience with my mom and her death. I purposely, and I knew it when I was doing it, but I purposely would not show my emotions about it because I didn't want to burden other people with really what was going on. And so I did that for a very long time, 7 years. And so pushing away the feeling that, the real feelings of that, after a while I was like, oh yeah, I guess there's no feeling there right now, because I had played pretend for so long. And then finally after she passed, and it sort of crumbled, like that wall or whatever that was where I pushed everything away sort of crumbled, and I had to like sit with it, sit with those feelings a little bit longer. And so I did in writing my blog about it and writing in my journal and writing the book and all of those things, a lot of these things, like the feelings that I experienced physically because of my mother's dementia, I mean, the pain in my body was fascinating after the fact. Stupid while I was in it. Like, it just was really weird. But, like, just all over pain from the stress of it all. But, you know, I would put on a good face for others, which is not helpful for the situation. Because then, if people didn't know that I was hurting, then they couldn't help me. Oh, she's fine. And so...
But you're in a position, because we talked about this in Neuro North, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a yoga teacher, okay, not bringing your mess into the class for other students to deal with and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
So that's a part of, like, I guess, being professional or whatever, right? But there's a bit of dishonesty in there, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I'd be interested in your thoughts about that.
And as a social worker.
Yeah. That was a very hard part, because teaching at the time, especially 14 classes a week. So that's 14 to 16, maybe 18 hours a week where I was in front of people and not showing my emotion. That was really hard, and there are a lot of times when I felt inauthentic, for sure. Especially like in the beginning of all of my classes, doing a check-in. Like, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? I'm a wreck, but let's go on. You know. So that was hard, and that probably did have something to do with, you know, I purposely had to do that. But then I'd go home. There were nights when I would like get home, like the instant I walked in the door, I broke down. Because it takes a lot of energy. I was exhausted.
Hold that.
Oh my God.
That facade up there. Yeah.
The level of exhaustion over 7 years of her, and especially the last 2 years of her decline, were exhausting. I was tired. My body was so tired. And that's probably why that, on top of my running and my teaching, I attributed all of my physical problems to teaching more and running. It was likely the biggest factor was my mom. And so when you're working with, you know, to her point, social work.
Yeah, so I think I'm so young, like in the profession as well, so I don't think I've really mastered that yet. But one thing that I like to do is visualize, like when I'm with a client or like with a group, I pretend that I have this little raincoat on, and so my stuff can't really get out past the raincoat, but they can still see my face, and I can like transfer back and forth a little bit, but then their stuff can hit the raincoat but just slide right off.
I like that.
And that's a good visualization. Obviously, it takes practice to really put it to use, but yeah, that's my little raincoat that I put on for work.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can I ask, is there a color to your raincoat?
Definitely yellow.
That's what was in my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have a hood and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Pockets?
Oh yeah. It doesn't have pockets. It's not useful.
Okay. That's really great. That's great. Now, did anybody teach you to visualize that? How did you think to do that?
I think that professors would talk about like having a shield or like having a wall, but I felt like a raincoat was kind of nice because, I don't know, it's like something you can wear and it's protective, but it's not a shield. The shield sounds kind of aggressive.
It's aggressive,
I guess.
yeah.
So the raincoat is just something like, and when you go home, you can easily tuck it away or hang it up, and then as you're going back to work, you put it back on.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like something in your closet. It's not the only role you wear, I guess.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. That's very helpful. All right. Well, I don't really know how to end the discussion, other than thank you. This has been a great month of talking about compassion, and thank you for coming to this forefront here.
And the nice thing is it doesn't end.
Right.
This has opened up so much. I
Yeah.
thank you and thank you guys.
Yeah. I think it's good to just sort of like remind yourselves about the practice of compassion for others, but also for yourself. It's very important. Thinking about the things like, every once in a while, think about what do you need a day off. We live in this society where it's almost shameful to not do something. Like when you have a day off, like there's nothing wrong with just sitting and doing nothing, or doing nothing, like reading a book. You don't have to constantly be multitasking and all of that. It's so much healthier for you, and then by you being healthy, you spread that to others by just take a break, read a book, do what you love. Think about what is it that you love and do that thing. And if you're a type of person that has to put it on your calendar, then by all means put it on your calendar. From 5 to 7, I'm gonna just write in my journal. And that would be heaven. And that's one of the things that I love about like the rainy days that we had last week is just a rainy day kind of extends morning feeling. The feeling of not sadness morning, but like 5 a.m. morning. It extends that feeling of morning longer, so then I can sit with my coffee longer and my bagel and my journal, and then I can just make that a day-long event. So yeah, give yourself that. I think we could probably have a whole nother discussion about gender roles and self-compassion, as far as, women sort of have it built in that we have spa days or whatever. I've never had a spa day, but that's something that's like part of our lexicon, but men don't have spa days. You can, but that's not something that men talk about. But why not? Why can't you go to the spa and like have your, have a facial and get a massage and do all those things. Just like little self-care things. It's nice. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Next month, for the month of September already, we're coming up to it, we're going to be talking about happiness. And so each Wednesday we'll talk something different about happiness. We'll sort of also be following, if you have never read the book, I do highly recommend The Art of Happiness. A man, all of a sudden his first name fell out of my head, Henry William Cutler. Cutler. He interviews the Dalai Lama, and he goes to several of the Dalai Lama's speeches, and then writes a book about it, and it's all about happiness, being happy, the purpose of being happy, how to be happy in all different sort of aspects of life. It's a wonderful read. I enjoy it. We'll talk about the book more next week. It's not necessarily that the whole month is going to be about this book, but it's sort of a nice guide because it's broken down into very simple concepts, I think. So if you're interested in the book to read, The Art of Happiness, I highly recommend it. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Well, thank you for watching and listening. If you liked this, please click like or subscribe. I want to thank my Patreon patrons, Chris and Nancy and Lauren and Afni and Vince and Jeremy. I appreciate all of you very much. If anybody else is interested in helping to support these, please check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/yoga happiness. You do not have to pay to watch these. I appreciate people who do help to support through Patreon. I am trying to earn a living by teaching yoga in all forms in the studio, via video, Patreon, and so forth. But it is free. You do not have to pay for this. However, I will say that coming up in, I don't know, October or November, we'll see how I can get my act together here. Yoga Happiness Studio will be moving to a new address on High Street in Clintonville, here in Columbus, Ohio. And one new feature of being in the new space will be that my morning classes that I teach will be streaming for Patreon patrons only. One of those classes per month will be recorded and made available to anyone, but the classes that I teach on a regular basis, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at least at this point, will be streaming so that people can actually join live. And when I have that up and running, I'll tell everybody how that's going to work. But I sort of envision that people will be able to type their name in somewhere. Maybe it's via Facebook or whatever, to let me know who's there so that I can call their name out during class, so that you can feel as if you're part of it. So anyway, I'm starting to build in little benefits for those who are Patreon patrons specifically. But I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for listening and for watching this. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next time.